to Tony Snell, State President, the Admin Committee, Damien Mantak, and can I say to you, congratulations on the great leadership that you've provided to the Liberal Party during the recent federal election. The way the Admin Committee has worked, the State President has led, and 104 has all worked together to deliver an outstanding result at the federal election in Victoria. And if you recall, if you go back 6 to 12 months, people were saying that in Victoria that we would struggle to hold the seats we had. People were saying the big swings would be in Queensland and Western Sydney. Well, the biggest swing in mainland Australia was here in Victoria, and we won the seats in Victoria, and that's a tribute to Tony Snell and his great team. So thank you very much, Tony. Can I acknowledge my state and federal ministers, state and federal colleagues that are here? Can I particularly acknowledge Terry and Sarah Henderson as the two local members, and thank them for having us on this wonderful part of Victoria. To delegates, ladies and gentlemen, can I first begin by acknowledging Philip Davis, who's retiring after 21 years representing the Liberal Party in State Parliament. And Philip knows that those 21 years are probably about half of what he's put into the Liberal Party as a leading Liberal in country Victoria, in Gippsland, in agricultural issues, in forestry issues, and in providing good common sense advice to many of his colleagues and to the Liberal Party. Can I say to Philip, thank you very much for your service. It has been a fantastic career, and we wish you well for the future. And it's interesting to reflect on Philip's decision to retire and the subsequent way the Liberal Party is dealing with it. The way the Liberal Party is dealing with this is to have an open, democratic pre-selection process with 7 candidates who've all got outstanding credentials in local participation, local leadership and local involvement. And it's been done through a democratic process using local delegates, local branches and local people making the decision through the pre-selection process at who replaces Philip Davis. And I contrast that to the pre-selection processes going on at the same time within our political opponents, the Labor Party, where what we've seen a mass exodus or sacking of MPs left, right and centre. But the democracy in the Labor Party that dawned in the fight for leadership at a federal opposition level has been absolutely thrown out the window by the Victorian Labor Party. And what we're seeing in the pre-selection process in the Victorian Labor Party is not a democratic process, not a process that involves branch members and local communities and local participation. We're seeing the pre-selection process of the Labor Party being done behind closed doors in Lygon Street, and the choices are being made by union thugs, union bullies, union leaders sitting around the table with factional warlords deciding who goes into what seat, who gets what sinecure, who gets what advantage, irrespective of their knowledge of the area, irrespective of their affinity to the area, and irrespective of their ability to effectively represent the area. And I think the contrast can't be more stark. And when we're talking about these decisions being done 12 months out from the next state election, I think the people of Victoria ought to have a good hard look at how the Liberal Party goes about its process in an open, democratic, community involvement process versus the Labor Party, who are behind closed doors and having decisions, these important decisions, made by union leaders and factional heavyweights. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Can I move now onto this magnificent place we're in today, a great part of Victoria, and indeed it highlights across Victoria we have so many wonderful assets, so many wonderful parts of this great state. Victoria certainly is an absolutely great state. And our vision as a coalition government is to roll up our sleeves and continue to work hard to make this great state even greater. That's what our task is, and that's what we're on about. We want to make Victoria the best state. We want to make Victoria the best state for Victorian families. We want to make Victoria the best state where you've got an opportunity for a job, for economic growth, and you've got an opportunity to secure your future and your family's future. We want to make Victoria the best state for services in health, in education, in transport, and in making our community a safer place for each and every one of us. We want to make sure that Victoria is the best state for the quality of life anywhere in the world where we can, with our multicultural diversity, with our great sporting traditions, our great events, major events, and with also our great cultural expertise and our great cultural traditions, that we have the opportunity in this great state to make it the best state, not only in Australia, but the best state in the world. And all of that, ladies and gentlemen, is underpinned by having stable, sound economic management. That underpins all of those ambitions, because if you don't have a strong economy, you can't deliver the services families need, you can't deliver the opportunities businesses need, and you can't deliver the jobs growth that our children and grandchildren need. And I'm pleased to say that in recent times we've had some good indicators of how our economy is performing. In October, the Australian Bureau of Statistics released the recent employment figures. And what they showed in October this year, there were 14,200 new jobs created here in Victoria. That is the highest number of new jobs in any state or territory across Australia. And it has been month after month after month that Victoria has led jobs growth in Australia. And indeed, there's 73,400 more Victorians employed now than when we came to government 3 years ago. Also recently, we've had a report from Standard & Poor's looking at our financial management. And Standard & Poor's reaffirmed our AAA stable credit rating. And indeed, again, we are the only state or territory in Australia which has a AAA stable credit rating. And that's a fantastic result. But what I really appreciated in Standard & Poor's commentary on our financial situation and our financial management is that they said that the economic reforms that have been put in place by this state government were economic reforms that would drive productivity growth into the future. And it certainly is productivity growth and productivity gains which will continue to grow our economy and grow our opportunities in this state. And the reason we do have the AAA stable credit rating is because of the decisions that we have made in our budgetary situation. In the recent state budget, the 13-14 state budget, we produced a surplus of $225 million. And we've got a surplus not just this year, but in each and every year in the forward estimates. And again, we are the only state or territory in Australia, including the federal government, that has got a surplus in this year's budget and a surplus in each and every one of the out years. So we are delivering stable, sound, strong financial management. But we know as a government that that is only the start of what we need to do. Get the economy right so you can deliver the services people need and grow the jobs and opportunities that people want. And what we are doing is delivering the services people need. And I'm pleased to say in this year's budget, we are providing $14.3 billion for health services across the state. That is a record level of funding for health. And indeed, if you compare it to 3 years ago, under the previous Labor government, when now opposition leader Daniel Andrews was Minister for Health, we are now providing $2 billion more for health services than Daniel Andrews provided, which is a 15% higher amount of money for health service than when Daniel Andrews was there. And you'll also recall that we said in 2010, in the lead up to the election, that we would fix the problems that we inherited from the previous Labor government. Well, one of the problems that we set about fixing, and David Davis has led the charge on this, is fixing the problem with our hospitals. And I can stand here and proudly tell you today that we are spending $4.8 billion on capital works in health. And bear with me while I go through this list of the hospitals and health services we are spending significant funding on. $1 billion on the Comprehensive Cancer Centre, $630 million on the Bendigo Regional Hospital. 11 years Labor controlled the seats in Bendigo, had senior ministers in Bendigo, and failed to invest in their health services in Bendigo. In less than 3 years, we are investing $630 million on the best new regional hospital, not only in Australia, but the entire Southern Hemisphere. $447 million at the Box Hill Hospital. And indeed, that has been managed so well as a project, in contrast to Labor, who we know can't manage money and can't manage project. At Box Hill Hospital, $447 million, but it's being managed so well, what was going to be a 9-storey hospital has now got an additional storey and an extra 200 beds under the same budget envelope because of the good management of David Davis and our coalition government. We're building the Monash... Thank you. We're building the Monash Children's Hospital, and it's interesting, we've had questions on that in the Parliament. We went back and looked at the research. That was originally raised back in 2002, over a decade ago, and we counted. And under Labor, there were 12 reviews and studies into the Monash Children's Hospital, but not $1 committed and not one brick laid. We've been in for less than 3 years, and we're already out for expressions of interest to get on with the job and building that hospital. We can say the same for the Eye and Ear Hospital. $90 million for the Geelong Hospital upgrade. $81 million at Frankston for a new emergency department and additional beds. $60 million to rebuild the Echuca Hospital. $50 million for the Northern Hospital. $50 million in a helipad at the Ballarat Hospital. $35 million at the Werribee Mercy Hospital. New hospitals at Charlton and Numurkah, and a new hospital at the Warren Ponds Community Hospital. That is an impressive investment in a health service in the state. And when we come to ambulance services, we again proudly can say that there's $662 million allocated for ambulance services this year. That is the highest level of funding ever for our ambulance services. And since we've come to government, there's an additional 465 paramedics being employed. More ambulance officers, more ambulance stations, more ambulances under this government. And at the same time, we've delivered on our promise to cut ambulance subscriptions by half. There is no reason why any individual or any family shouldn't be an ambulance subscriber in the state of Victoria. And just recently we announced what we believe is a fair and reasonable pay offer for our hard-working paramedics. 6% increase immediately, plus a $1,500 sign-on bonus. 3% 1st of July 2015 and 3% 1st of July 2016. And I appeal directly to ambulance officers and paramedics. Have a look at that. Have a look at that pay offer, and I think you'll find it's fair and reasonable. And I would urge you to talk to your union bosses and say you believe this is an offer you should sign up to. I believe the ambulance paramedics are being misled by their union leaders, And I believe what we'll put on the table is a fair and reasonable deal, and I would urge the paramedics to sign up to it. With our schools, Martin Dixon is doing an outstanding job of improving the quality of education in our schools. And certainly we've made a significant commitment in capital funding, firstly to fix the maintenance backlog under the previous Labor government, but also to invest in new schools in growth areas. So we're investing in new schools at Officer, at Doreen, Tarneet, Laverton, Wyndham Vale and Melton. We're investing in those schools, in those growth areas, because we're playing catch-up from where Labor neglected to invest in schools as our communities grew in those outer suburbs. And we all know that in the last few months, Martin Dixon and I have been involved in significant negotiations with the former Australian government about a funding plan for schools for the future. And we would not sign up. We would not sign up unless we got the best funding deal for Victorian schools that meant no school was worse off, no family was worse off, and provided for both government schools, Catholic schools and non-government schools. And we got that deal. And we also insisted that our schools should have the autonomy to run their own school. So we wanted the power to remain with school principals and school councils. And we delivered that with our funding deal and the deal we signed up with the previous federal government. And we expect the federal coalition government to honour that deal because it is a good deal for Victoria, and we will continue to fight for what is a good deal for Victoria and what delivers the best educational outcome for Victorian schools. Fundamental to living in Victoria is being safe in your own home and in your own community. And we were elected on a promise of making sure that Victoria was a safer place. That's why we're delivering 1,700 extra police. That's why we're delivering 940 PSOs on our railway stations. And aren't they being well received right across the community where people see them making a real difference in their community? That's why we're the first state to have a Minister for Crime Prevention, to prevent crime in our communities. And we've delivered tough laws to deal with outlaw motorcycle gangs, and we don't resile from them at all. We have delivered on the first Victorian independent broad-based anti-corruption commission, and we've delivered on the toughest parole system. And we make no apology. We make no apology for saying that those people who are sentenced to jail will be put in jail. We make no apology for building additional prison beds to make sure that people who deserve to be in jail will be placed in jail to keep our community safer. And an important part of a safer community is safety on our roads. And can I say, here we are, the 1st of December, 11 months through the year, and the latest figures show that this time last year, the road toll in Victoria was 258. This year, it's 211. That's 47 fewer people. That's 47 more Victorians alive today, and this is no accident. They're alive today because of the strategic, comprehensive approach being undertaken by this government to improve road safety. With more police, with targeted education programs, particularly Get Through the Red programs, the L2P programs, with safer road infrastructure, with genuinely targeted investments in improving road safety and fixing black spots, and with tougher laws, particularly to do with mobile phones. So there's more Victorians alive today because we do have a comprehensive road safety strategy, and we are implementing it using all the arms of government working together to achieve that result. And I trust people will be safe on the roads as they return today, and I trust they'll be safe on the roads as we go through the Christmas period. But as we stand today, we are significantly below the road toll of last year, and that's a great achievement for this government. And of course, not everybody can travel on our roads, and there's a great number of people who wish to use public transport. And I think, as I said before, Terry Moulder has been an absolutely terrific Transport Minister. And if there's nothing else you remember from today, just remember these couple of statistics I'll give you. Because there are some people who suggest that this government is not committed to public transport. Just think of these statistics and you'll go away saying that is absolute and utter rubbish. Because since we've been in government, in 3 years, there are 1,078 extra metropolitan train services each and every week. There are 3,400 extra bus services in Victoria each and every week. We've purchased 15 new trains, 50 new trams, 40 new V-line carriages. We're spending $100 million upgrading the Bayside Frankston line, $25 million upgrading the Dandenong line, because we are committed to improving public transport in Melbourne and across the state. And indeed, those figures show that we have achieved improvements. And the system-wide punctuality and reliability has lifted from 83% in 2010 to 94% now. And the Frankston line, which was a disaster under the previous Labor government, has lifted from 66% to 93%, and we're investing in further improvements in the Frankston line. So by any measure, we are delivering more public transport services, we're delivering safer public transport services, we're delivering more reliable public transport services, and we as a government are committed to providing the infrastructure to even do better in the future. And that includes $500 million on level crossing removals, 5 being removed in our first 3 years in office. That is more than Labor ever achieved in a similar period. And we've got 7 more on the drawing boards. And of course, we are committed to the largest rail infrastructure project in Victoria's history, the $4.8 billion regional rail project being built as we speak. And its benefits will improve punctuality and reliability and capacity for V-line services coming from Western Victoria, including Ballarat, Bendigo and Geelong. And of course, will also improve the metro services, because when you take the V-line trains out of the metro system, you get greater capacity on the Werribee line, the Altona line, the Williamstown line, the Sunbury line and the Craigieburn line. And of course, when we look at other key infrastructure, East-West Link, Stage 1 being developed as we speak, so that will reduce congestion, improve transport efficiency, improve people's quality of life as they get home to their families quicker after work, and create 3,200 jobs. And then we move on to Stage 2. And Stage 2 of East-West Link is vital. And let me say to you, if you're in the West, you want a second crossing. You do not want a cheap con job which Labor is trying to foist on you. You need a genuine second crossing to take traffic off the Westgate Freeway, off the Westgate Bridge. You don't want something that puts more trucks and more traffic on the Westgate Freeway and on the Westgate Bridge, which Labor has promised. And of course, we're redeveloping the capacity of the Port of Melbourne, $1.6 billion project going on as we speak. And of course, we've started on the Port of Hastings. And can I say, we are getting on with the job of building the Metro Rail Capacity Project. We're doing the geotechnical work. We're doing the research that's needed on that. And this project is a project we are committed to delivering in the back end of this decade. It is a project that's important for Victoria, it's important for us, and we will deliver it if we keep getting re-elected in the state of Victoria. And there are some who would say that we have all our eggs in one basket. Well, can I say to you, we've got lots of baskets and lots of eggs, because not only are we doing regional rail, East-West Link, Port of Melbourne, Port of Hastings and metro rail capacity. I'll just run through a few other significant projects we're undertaking at the moment. $166 million on the Dingley bypass, ignored under 11 years of Labor, being delivered by a coalition government. $500 million extension to the Western Highway and to west of Ballarat. $515 million in the duplication of the Princess Highway west from to Winchelsea and then on to Colac. $66 million in the Cooey-Rupp bypass. $86 million to fix the most dangerous intersection in Australia at the Calder interchange at Ravenswood. And of course, here, $50 million to upgrade the Great Ocean Road. And that's just a few of the projects we're involved in. We are involved in road projects all the way from the Omeo Highway in the northeast to 7 additional passing lanes on the Princess Highway in the southwest. We are involved in projects the length and breadth of the state that are making a real difference. And in contrast, the Labor Party have put forward their transport alternative, which has no new trains, no new trams, no new buses, and in roads they've promised $2 billion over 8 years. $2 billion over 8 years. In contrast, we've provided already $3.7 billion in the last 3 years, $1.2 billion in this year alone. So what you would get under Labor in regional and rural Victoria and the outskirts of Melbourne is a massive cut in road funding, a massive reduction in road funding. People in country Victoria would lose their funding from local councils for local roads and bridges. They would lose their funding to maintain arterial roads and highways, and there would be no funding to continue the projects we've started right across the length and breadth of the state. Labor is a city-centric party that doesn't understand the road funding needs of country Victoria, and we will never accept it in country Victoria. As was said on the video, I'm proudly from country Victoria and proud to represent country Victoria. And we as a government also strongly support population growth and job growth in country Victoria. We want to encourage faster growth in our regional cities and country towns. And we're doing that with the $1 billion Regional Growth Fund, with the Regional Living Expo, with the Good Move campaign, and the sort of things we are doing is the $100 million Gas to the Regions program, which has already delivered extensions of the natural gas network to Avoca, Huntly, Bannockburn, Winchelsea, Wandong and Heathcote Junction. We've invested in job-creating programs across the length and breadth of the state, including businesses such as Olam Almonds, Hazeldene's at Bendigo, Bruck Textiles, Australian Paper, True Foods at Maryborough and Corvino Vegetables at Longford. All of these with strategic investments to grow jobs and opportunities. And we're seeing the results. We're seeing the results. The recent statistics shows that unemployment in country Victoria was 6.3% when we came to government. It's now 5%. There's over 40,000 more people in regional Victoria employed now under a coalition government than there was when we came to office. And there's no surprise about that because every regional city, every town we are working with to have a program to grow and develop the opportunities in their town. And for example, in Ballarat, we have the Ballarat West Employment Zone. We have an expansion of the University of Ballarat Tech Zone, and we're redeveloping the Central Railway Station site. And in Bendigo, we talked about the hospital. We've also spending $10.3 million on the Sandhurst Theatre upgrade, $8 million on the art gallery expansion. In Wodonga, we're under Bill Tilley. The Junction Place project is revitalising the heart and soul of Wodonga. In Mildura, upgrading the airport, upgrading the riverfront. And of course, in my own hometown of Warrnambool, investment in the Horn Road industrial site and of course, expanding residential opportunities in the north of the Warrnambool area. So every town, every community has its plan and its strategy, that we're working with them to grow investments, job opportunities and the quality of life in those regional centres. And of course, closer to home here in Geelong, we've delivered 300 jobs through the NDIS headquarters. We've delivered $93 million to upgrade the hospital. And let me tell you just a short story about how we operate in our future government. We know that in Geelong, Armstrong Creek is the next residential development with a massive growth opportunity. And traditionally, governments have waited till the houses are built and then started to build the infrastructure. With Andrew Katos, with David Koff, we are taking a quite different approach. And what we're doing in that area is we're spending nearly $30 million on a new Grovedale station to cater for that growth at Armstrong Creek. We're spending $50 million on a new Warren Ponds Community Hospital to cater for that growth. We're spending money at Rossax Road for a new police station and SES headquarters in advance of that population growth. So we're putting in the infrastructure as the population grows. And of course, those who went past Skilled Stadium would see the new players stand and the new lights that we contributed significantly to. The other end of Geelong, in the areas around Corio and Norlane, we've invested $16 million in the new Northern Bay School, which is revolutionising educational opportunities for those disadvantaged suburbs and making a real difference to those young people's lives. And we're investing in the Geelong Library and Heritage Centre. And can I say, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honour and privilege today to make a further significant announcement for Geelong. And I can announce today that if the coalition government is re-elected in November 2014, the coalition government will relocate the head office of the Victorian WorkCover Authority to Geelong. This will bring This will bring 550 jobs to Geelong. This will put an extra $50 million a year into the economy of Geelong. This relocation will complement the establishment of the NDIS headquarters in Geelong. It will complement the establishment of the TAC headquarters in Geelong, so that Geelong will become a dynamic hub covering all of those areas of insurance, disability service and care for those who need a little bit of extra help. So Geelong will be a centre point across the world for this work, and working with Deakin University, this will be a real adjunct to the economy of Geelong, to jobs in Geelong and of course to the quality of life in Geelong. The relocation will include administration, IT, finance, procurement, legal section, payroll, policy and human resources. The WorkCover Authority will retain frontline services in their current locations around regional cities, in the suburbs and in central Melbourne. This will be a huge boost for the Geelong community, and it genuinely reflects the Coalition's government's commitment to growing jobs and opportunities in regional and rural Victoria, to growing the whole state, giving everybody across the state of Victoria a great opportunity. Victoria, ladies and gentlemen, is a great state. We as a coalition government are working extremely hard and delivering results to make this great state even better. I look forward, ladies and gentlemen, to working with my team, with all of you, in the 12 months in the lead up to the election next year, to tell our story about what we are achieving for Victoria, to outline our vision about what we want to do in the future of Victoria, like relocating the WorkCover head office to Geelong and creating jobs and opportunities in Geelong. We are a great state, we have a great future, and under a coalition government, that future, that positive future, will be delivered for all Victorian families. Thank you very much.